I landed in Newark with a carry-on full of conference swag and a mind still humming with Spanish trains and tapas. The air in New Jersey felt heavier. Honest in a way the Valencia breeze never was. I pictured my daughter waiting with her shy teacher smile, the one that always made me feel like the world could be repaired with a pot of soup and a steady plan. Instead, my townhouse was silent. The porch light I left on timer glowed over an envelope propped against the doorframe. Addressed in block letters I did not recognize. North Shore Medical Center. Is the family of Clara Ellis. My name, Margaret Ellis, did not appear anywhere. The postmark was 5 days old. The key slid from my fingers before I caught it. I stood there, counting backward through time. 5 days. Where had I been 5 days ago? Sipping espresso between panels. Sending my daughter a photo of a street guitarist in Seville. Waiting for 3 dots that never became a reply. I tore the envelope and read the sentence that split my life into before and after. Your daughter is in intensive care. Please contact the ICU. The kitchen counter steadied me while I dialed with hands that suddenly did not feel like mine. The receptionist spoke with the calm cadence of a lighthouse. Clara Ellis admitted 5 days ago, following a motor vehicle collision. Condition critical. Ventilated. Neurosurgery performed on day 1. Are you her next of kin? I said yes. I said I was her mother. I said I would be there in 20 minutes, though my voice sounded like it belonged to a woman who knew how to breathe. Shoes. Wallet. Keys. I left the suitcase by the door and drove on autopilot through neighborhoods that had raised us both. Rain stitched silver lines across the windshield. I caught a yellow light at the last second and felt an irrational guilt, as if every safe arrival on my trip had been stolen from my child. The 4th floor smelled like bleach and new paint. A nurse named Tasha looked up, read everything she needed in my face, and came around the desk. We have been trying to reach family, she said softly. A man identified as her husband signed initial papers on arrival, then left. He has not returned. The words did not compute. Ethan, he would not. He did. Tasha warned me before she opened the door. The machines? The swelling. Prepare yourself. I stepped into a room where time did not move, only measured itself in beeps and breaths. Clara lay under a sheet that could not hide the bruises climbing her neck. My child. My only child. I took her cool hand and lowered my head until our foreheads almost touched. I am here now, I whispered. I will not leave again. I promise. The hiss of the ventilator was the first sound that cut through my daze, followed by the irregular beep of a heart monitor. It was not the music of a hospital, but the soundtrack of survival. Clara's face, once radiant, with the glow of teaching children to paint sunsets, was now swollen and distorted, stitches snaking across her temple. Her chest rose and fell in sync with the machine, not her own strength. I gripped the bed rail until my knuckles blanched. 1,000 memories pressed against me. Her laugh in the kitchen when she dropped flour everywhere. Her determined look the day she told me she wanted to teach art despite the salary. The last hug before I left for Spain. They all crowded in, demanding a reality that did not match the fragile body lying here. Nurse Tasha adjusted the IV line with practiced efficiency. She's stable now. That's the good news. Her tone softened. But she sustained a traumatic brain injury. The neurosurgeons relieved the pressure. and she's on heavy sedation to let her brain rest. Broken ribs, punctured lung, fractures in both legs. It will be a long road. I nodded, though her words floated like ice in boiling water, sinking slowly, burning as they disappeared. And Ethan? My voice broke against his name. Her husband. He hasn't been back? A glance passed between Tasha and another nurse at the doorway. He came the first night, signed the intake forms, then left. We've called repeatedly for medical decisions. No response. For a moment, the world tilted. That's impossible. He would never abandon her. But even as I said it, something darker coiled in my chest, a mother's instinct whispering truths the mind refuses to accept. Dr. Alvarez entered, white coat fluttering like a flag of authority. His eyes were kind but weary. He laid out the facts. Surgery successful. Swelling reduced. Sedation necessary. She is young. That is on her side. If we can control complications, pneumonia, infection, she has a fighting chance. But recovery will take months, maybe longer. I brushed Clara's hand with my thumb. Her skin was cool, unresponsive. Can she hear me? Possibly. Dr. Alvarez said, we encourage families to talk. Familiar voices can help. So I bent close, the smell of antiseptic and plastic overwhelming, and whispered, Clara, it's Mom. I came as soon as I knew. You are not alone. The monitors blinked. The machines breathed. No flicker of her eyelids, no squeeze of her hand. But I kept speaking, filling the sterile room with pieces of her life, the colors she loved, the class of third graders waiting for her return, the dog-eared sketchbook still on her desk at home. Behind me, the door clicked shut. For the first time since I landed, I allowed the question to surface fully. Where was Ethan? And why had he left my daughter to fight for her life without him the next morning? After a sleepless vigil in the vinyl chair beside Clara's bed, I asked Tasha for copies of the police report. My voice was calm, but the paper trembled in my hands when she returned. Columns of numbers, sterile abbreviations, a mechanical language, until my eyes found the details that punched the air from my lungs. Vehicle speed at impact, 95 miles per hour. Blood alcohol concentration of driver, 0.12. Driver distraction suspected. Cell phone usage. My pulse roared in my ears. Ethan had been drinking. He had been texting. He had been racing through the night, as though my daughter's life was a throwaway bet. He walked away with scratches. And Clara was here, stitched together by machines. I pressed my forehead into my palms. Every mother's nightmare lay spelled out in black and white. But the worst part was the silence, his silence. Not one phone call, not one voicemail, not even a cowardly text to explain why. When the first round of doctors left and the room quieted, I pulled out my phone. Clara had insisted on linking our family banking app after the wedding, in case of emergencies. My thumbprint opened the account we all shared. What I saw made my stomach drop. $12,000 drained in less than a week. Withdrawals in Miami. Room service charges from a luxury beachfront hotel. Receipts from a yacht rental company. Designer boutique purchases that cost more than Clara's monthly salary. I scrolled with growing dread. Each transaction Another knife twist. My daughter lay unconscious while her husband lived as if nothing tethered him to reality. A memory flickered. Ethan, smiling on their wedding day, promising in vows to protect Clara, to cherish her in sickness and in health. The same mouth had ordered $1,000 champagne while she fought for breath. I switched apps. Opened Instagram. Ethan rarely posted, claiming he liked to live in the moment. But others weren't so discreet. It didn't take long. A man named Jackson, someone I vaguely recalled from Ethan's circle, had tagged him in a series of photos. My breath caught. There he was, Ethan Ross, on the deck of a white yacht, arms slung around a woman in a glittering bikini, a bottle of Dom clutched in his free hand, his smile wide, untroubled. Only a thin bandage above his eyebrow hinted at the wreckage head left behind. The caption, "Living it up in Miami. No limits. No worries. Yacht life. Baby." I stared at the screen until the pixels blurred. Fury, sharper than any fear, took hold. It wasn't just betrayal. It was abandonment, theft, mockery. I looked at Clara, my broken, precious child, and back at Ethan's grin on the yacht. My hand stopped shaking. My voice steadied into steel. He picked the wrong mother to underestimate. The rage sharpened into purpose. I had spent 30 years managing multi-million-dollar budgets, steering entire departments through mergers and audits. Ethan Ross might have thought he was clever, but he had walked straight into my arena. At dawn, I stepped into the hallway outside Clara's room and dialed the one man who never failed me, Victor Han, my personal banker of 15 years. His voice, usually casual, snapped to attention when he heard mine. "Margaret, welcome back from Spain. How was—" "Victor, listen carefully." I cut him off. "Freeze every account with Ethan Ross' name on it. Credit, debit, checking, savings. If he so much as tries to buy a pack of gum, I want it declined. Effective immediately." There was a beat of silence, then rapid clicking on his keyboard. Understood. "May I ask what happened?" "My daughter is in intensive care after a crash he caused. He's in Miami spending her money with another woman. Do you need more detail?" "No, ma'am." "Consider it done, and I'll flag every attempt for your review." By the time I returned to Clara's bedside, my phone buzzed. Declined charge, $3. 200 yacht rental. Minutes later, another alert. Declined. Luxury dinner, $1. 450. I pictured Ethan's smug smile, faltering as waiters demanded another form of payment, as the yacht captain shook his head. Then came the video. A notification pinged from Instagram. The same friend, Jackson, had posted a story. Ethan in the yacht's cabin, red-faced, screaming into his phone. Behind him, shattered glass glittered where he had hurled a champagne flute. The caption read, "When the cards stop working and the party ends." Laughter echoed from whoever held the camera. I saved the clip instantly, forwarding it to my secure drive. Evidence. Proof. An officer appeared at the ICU doors not long after. Stocky, serious, introducing himself as Officer Ramirez, the first responder at Clara's crash. "We've been trying to reach Mr. Rex Avine, Ross, for questioning," he said. We believe he was not only intoxicated, but also texting. With your permission, ma'am, we'd like any information you have about his whereabouts. I showed him the yacht photos, the meltdown video. Ramirez's eyes hardened. This helps a great deal. After he left, I returned to Clara's side. Machines kept her alive, but her hand lay cool in mine. Fingers slack. I leaned close, whispering so only she could hear. Sweetheart, he's out there throwing tantrums on a yacht while you fight for every breath. But I've shut him down. His free ride is over, and this is only the beginning. I pressed a kiss to her bandaged forehead, a vow sealing itself inside me. Ethan thought he could vanish into Miami luxury. He hadn't counted on me. The hospital lights never dimmed, but dawn crept in through the slats of the blinds, painting faint gold lines across the floor. I had not slept. Clara's monitors became the metronome of my resolve, each beep driving me deeper into the trail Ethan had left behind. Victor sent me a secure file at 6 a.m. A complete audit of every account Ethan had touched since marrying my daughter. I opened it with steady fingers and read with rising fury. At first, the charges looked like ordinary life. Groceries, utilities, the occasional dinner. Then, 2 months after the wedding, patterns emerged. Transfers, in neat round numbers, $2. 000 here, $3. 500 there. Always to the same routing number in Atlanta, listed under the name Danielle Hart. Curiosity pulled me to social media. Within minutes, I found her an Atlanta fitness influencer. Bronzed skin, bright smile, endless posts about living authentically. And there, buried in her photo history, a snapshot from 4 months ago, Ethan. His face half turned, but unmistakable, on a rooftop bar beside her. I clenched my teeth so hard my jaw ached. Clara had been at parent-teacher night that same week, standing proud in front of student paintings. The file revealed more. Smaller transfers to Phoenix, Nashville, all under different names. Ethan's betrayal wasn't impulsive. It was systematic, organized like a business model. Then I saw it. A policy line item flagged under premium withdrawals. I clicked, and my vision blurred. A $750 000 life insurance policy taken out on Clara, just 2 months after their wedding. Beneficiary, Ethan Ross. Clause, double indemnity in case of accidental death. The words pulsed on the screen like a heartbeat. My daughter lay broken in a hospital bed, and her husband had a financial incentive for her not to wake up. I pressed my hand to Clara's bandaged arm. You hear me, baby? He won't get a penny. Not one. I'll make sure of it. The phone rang, jolting me. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. Mrs. Ellis? A woman's voice. Hesitant. Shaky. You don't know me, but my name is Melissa Warren. I saw that video of Ethan online. I recognized him immediately, though when I knew him, he called himself Jason Ross. The room seemed to tilt. Go on, I urged. He was my fiancé 2 years ago. He took out a life insurance policy on me too. 3 weeks later, we had a car accident. He walked away without a scratch. I barely survived. And then he vanished with my savings. Her voice cracked. The police said it was just bad luck. But now I know it's a pattern. I wrote down every detail, my hand steady, though my heart thundered. Ethan wasn't just unfaithful. He was a predator. And now I had the proof. The doctors had warned me not to expect miracles, but by the third morning of my vigil, I noticed something different. Clara's breathing pattern shifted, just slightly, as if her body were trying to reclaim ownership from the machine. When I spoke, her eyelashes fluttered, a tremor so faint I thought I imagined it. Doctor, Alvarez confirmed what my heart already knew. She's beginning to emerge. Well, reduce the sedation slowly. Her responses may be inconsistent at first, but this is a promising sign. I leaned close, brushing a strand of hair away from the bandages on her temple. Clara, sweetheart, it's Mom. You're safe. I am right here. Her fingers twitched. My breath caught. Then, with the fragile strength of a whisper, her lips formed a sound. Mom. Tears blurred the monitors into a haze of green and red. I clasped her hand carefully, terrified I might hurt her. Yes, baby. I am here. You're safe. Fragments came back to her in fits and starts over the next hours. Arguing in the car. He wanted money. Said I was holding him back. Her voice was raw, every syllable an effort. He drove faster. I begged him to stop. She shook her head weakly. Then, nothing. Each word was a blade confirming what I had pieced together from bank records and strangers' warnings. Ethan hadn't just been reckless. He had weaponized his anger, gambling with my daughter's life when she refused to fund his schemes. I kissed her hand, forcing steadiness into my voice. You don't have to remember everything right now. Focus on healing. I'll handle the rest. Even as I soothed her, my phone buzzed on the bedside table. A text from Detective Morales. Ethan Ross detained in Key West, attempting to bribe a captain to take him to the Bahamas. Miami-Dade has him in custody, preparing extradition to New Jersey. I read it twice, relief crashing into me like a wave. The man who thought he could vanish into warm waters and new identities was behind bars. I whispered into Clara's ear, he can't hurt you anymore. They have him. Her eyes fluttered open, hazy but aware. And for the first time since the accident, she squeezed my hand with intent. Weak, trembling, but unmistakable. I let out a long, shuddering breath I didn't realize it'd been holding. The machines still hummed. Her body was still broken. But my daughter was coming back to me. And Ethan Ross's empire of lies was beginning to crumble under the weight of his own arrogance. 2 weeks later, the conference room at the Trenton Police Department was cold enough to raise goosebumps on my arms. Clara sat beside me in a wheelchair, her body still fragile under the blanket draped across her lap. The bruises had faded to yellow and green, but the casts on her legs spoke louder than any words. Detective Morales stood near the door, her presence steady as an anchor. Remember, everything is recorded, she reminded us. You can stop this at any time. Clara straightened her back despite the obvious pain. No, I need to hear him. I need him to see what he did. The door opened. 2 officers escorted Ethan in. Gone was the polished suit and rehearsed smile. Shackles clinked at his wrists. His hair was unkempt, his once sharp jawline hidden behind stubble. Yet his eyes still searched the room for control, for the angle he could play. When he saw Clara, his expression shifted. Shock. Then a flicker of something like calculation. He pasted on a look of practiced concern. Clara, my God, I've been so worried. They wouldn't let me visit you. She said nothing, only studied him with a steady gaze that made him falter. The silence pressed heavy until he filled it with excuses. That night, it was chaos. I panicked. I made mistakes. But I love you. I swear it. Everything I did in Miami was for us, for the money we'd need. I almost laughed at the audacity, but Clara beat me to it. Her voice was quiet, raw, but firm. For us? Tell me, Ethan, how sending thousands to Danielle Hart in Atlanta was for us, or the life insurance policy you took out on me without my knowledge. The mask cracked. A muscle in his jaw twitched. That's not what you think, he stammered. Or Melissa Warren? Clara pressed. Do you remember her, the woman you nearly killed 2 years ago? She remembers you. She's speaking to investigators now. Ethan's practiced charm faltered completely. His eyes darted from me to Morales, searching for an exit. Finally, his voice hardened, venom seeping through. You don't understand. Without me, you're nothing. You'd still be some art teacher living paycheck to paycheck. Clara leaned forward, her hand gripping the armrest for strength. No, Ethan, without you, I am alive. And you're going to prison for a very long time. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Morales nodded to the officers. That's enough. As they pulled him to his feet, Ethan's composure collapsed into frantic pleading. Clara, please, we can fix this. Don't do this to me. But Clara had already turned away, tears brimming in her eyes, but her spine straight as steel. She had faced her predator and stripped him of power. I reached for her hand, whispering what we both knew to be true. You won, sweetheart. He doesn't own a single piece of you anymore. The courtroom in Trenton was overflowing, every seat occupied, the aisles lined with reporters scribbling in frantic shorthand. Clara sat beside me in the front row, a cane tucked discreetly against her chair. To strangers. She looked fragile, but I knew the steel beneath the months of grueling therapy, the nights of pain, the mornings she forced her battered body to stand when it screamed to give up. Ethan shuffled in wearing the orange of the county jail, wrists chained. The swagger was gone. His eyes darted like a trapped animal's, searching for sympathy in a room that offered none. Judge Peterson cleared his throat, his voice filling the chamber. Mr. Ross, the evidence against you is overwhelming. Reckless endangerment, financial exploitation, insurance fraud, and the calculated abandonment of your wife as she lay fighting for her life. You cultivated a pattern of deception, preying on women for profit. This court will not allow such predation to go unanswered. The gavel struck once, sharp as a gunshot. 22 years in state prison, with no possibility of parole before 15. Restitution to MS. Ellis for the stolen funds. Registration as a financial offender upon release. The gasp in the gallery was followed by silence. Ethan's mouth opened, closed, for the first time. He seemed to grasp what it meant to lose everything. Clara's hand found mine. Her eyes shimmered not with fear, but with release. "It's really over," she whispered. We walked out of the courthouse to a barrage of cameras. "Ems, Alice, what's your message to women watching?" Clara paused on the steps, straightened her back, and let her voice carry. "Trust your instincts. Don't let anyone convince you that you're powerless. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. But you can rise again." Applause rippled through the crowd. For the first time in months, I saw my daughter stand taller than her scars. A year later, I stood in a Newark gallery, surrounded by Clara's art. Her exhibition, Rising from the Fragments, drew critics and survivors alike. Paintings of fractured glass gave way to bursts of light and color, each piece a testament to recovery. The proceeds funded her new foundation to support victims of financial and emotional abuse. As she guided guests from canvas to canvas, cane tapping softly on the hardwood floor, I realized Ethan no longer mattered. He was just an inmate number, a ghost swallowed by the system. Clara's life had expanded beyond him, filled with purpose he could never have imagined. That night, after the gallery closed, we stood together before her centerpiece painting. She pressed her forehead against mine, as I once had in the ICU. "You kept your promise, Mom," she whispered. "He can't hurt me anymore." I smiled through tears. "No, sweetheart, and he never will." When I think back to the day I found that envelope at my door, I remember the crushing guilt, the helplessness, the terror that my daughter would never wake. But what I learned in the months that followed is that strength is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is the steady hand holding another through endless nights. Sometimes it is the voice that refuses to stay silent when the truth is ugly. And sometimes it is the courage to walk forward, scarred but unbroken. Ethan underestimated us both. He thought betrayal would destroy Clara, that greed would silence me. Instead, we found resilience in each other. To every woman who feels trapped, powerless, or deceived, know this: you are stronger than the person who tries to break you. And when you rise not only for yourself, but for those who will follow your footsteps.